Based on its importance, this is an intro into this section, how to analyze and understand the business in its entireties. We talk a little bit about some useful suggestions, 3 tips, call it guidance. Try to understand what is behind the number. I will refer to that at the end, so stick around. Welcome everyone to episode 8 of the Mammoth in the Room. My name is Nicholas Bocconi and I'm the CEO of Mammoth Leadership Sciences. Last time we covered the important interplay between leadership and followership. The reason why we did that was because today we want to continue this journey with an episode which will cover your first 2 to 3 months, where you ask to make your assessment about the business, about the people, about the dynamics, about the numbers. So you need to very closely reflect on where and when and about what you want to take leadership on, or maybe apply a followership approach, at least for some time. We talk a little bit about some useful suggestions, 3 tips, call it guidance, do's, don'ts, which applied correctly, and that takes a bit of practice, can make your journey a bit easier, more successful in the short term. Now, I have to say, based on its importance, this is an intro into this section, how to analyze and understand the business in its entireties to make smart decisions. So the most important parts of today's show will get its own episode. But this one is important today because it offers you an overview, a tried and trusted strategy to apply, and therefore it makes sense to stick around until the end, because to get the essence, we need to discuss some things first independently and then pull them together at the end. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and give me some reviews, either on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcast from. Ready to get rolling? Let's dive in. The first tip I want to call is numbers rarely lie when you go deep. Stepping into a new leadership role requires a deep understanding of the business's performance numbers to make informed decisions and set effective priorities. These metrics, known as key performance indicators, serve as the foundation for evaluating the health of the company and guiding its future direction. Understanding performance numbers is akin to decoding the DNA of a business. They reveal strengths, weaknesses, and potential opportunities. For example, when taking over a long-established family-owned manufacturing business, you might find a lack of formal data due to the previous owner's reliance on intuition. Happens very often. And very often, this is the way to go. By focusing on the right KPIs, such as revenue growth, profit margins, cash flow, etc., you can quickly assess the company's current state and devise strategy for improvement. Revenue growth is a critical KPI, for instance, indicating whether the business is expanding its market share and increasing sales over time. However, it's essential to dig deeper into these numbers. For instance, discovering that your company's growth rate is below the industry average might prompt you to prioritize maybe a digital transformation to stay competitive. And by the way, we have a very interesting paper attached in the show notes, which shows general KPIs which are important for evaluating businesses. I'm calling out today only very few. For instance, profit margins, another crucial metric. They provide insights into operational efficiency. A healthy gross profit margin might mask shrinking operating margins due to rising costs. As a new leader, addressing these efficiencies can significantly improve profitability without stifling growth. Cash flow is arguably the most vital KPI, reflecting the company's ability to meet its financial obligations and invest in future growth. And I have in my book a whole section about reinvesting cash into future growth, into transformation. And even profitable businesses can face challenges if cash flow is mismanaged, as seen in companies struggling to pay suppliers on time despite consistent profitability. Ensuring strong cash flow enables day-to-day operations and financial stability. And there are many more. We have a paper on this attached, but we also go into a dedicated episode about numbers next time. Like for instance, customer acquisition cost, customer lifetime value, etc., etc. So we will dig into them deeply next time. But here it's more a summary, right? You get the essence. Mastering these performance numbers allows new leaders to prioritize decisions effectively, steering the company towards growth and long-term success. Understanding these KPIs early on sets the stage for a successful leadership tenure, ensuring that your strategies are data-driven and aligned with the company's goals. And first and foremost, they enable you to support your story in the way you want to tell it. Remember that. I will refer to that at the end, so stick around. The second tip I want to call perception is reality, all the rest is BS. Stepping into a new leadership role requires more than just understanding financials. It demands a deep comprehension of the organization's culture and human capital. The dynamics within a team and the underlying power structures, they play a critical role in determining whether the company's vision, purpose, and strategy are truly embraced by its employees. Without this understanding, even the most well-crafted plans can falter. Team dynamics refer to the psychological forces influencing team behavior, while power structures represent the distribution of authority and influence within the organization. These elements are completely intertwined and can significantly impact the organization's ability to achieve its goals. For example, a new CEO might find that despite her strategic clarity, her initiatives face resistance. And this resistance often stems from informal power brokers within the team. Individuals who, while not in formal leadership roles, wield significant influence over their peers. I can tell you, I was multiple times in my career in a situation like that. By identifying and engaging these key players, she can, the CEO we just talked about, align them with her vision, gradually gaining the broader team's support. So bring people in, work together. In my book, I start actually the section about, after the introduction, I go into a situation. I explain a situation in an insurance company where strategic guidance and company culture was not aligned. That's a classical situation we just talked about. Happens all the time. So to assess whether employees are aligned with the company's vision and strategy, leaders can monitor several key performance indicators. And we again have an interesting source in the show notes about this. So for instance, employee engagement scores. These scores reveal how emotionally invested employees are in their work and the organization. And obviously low engagement might signal a disconnect between the employees and the company goals. Or let's put it this way, the employee goals and the company goals. And then net promoter scores, right? Typically used to measure customer loyalty, but there's also an internal net promoter score. And that you ask, for instance, how likely would you recommend this very company as a great place to work? Employee turnover rates. I mean, this is super critical, right? I mean, it's one of the important numbers you need to look at from a pure numbers perspective when you are going into a new leadership role, and we'll talk about this next time. But that obviously must have a reason if there are high turnover rates or not, right? So high turnover rates often reflect dissatisfaction with the company culture or a misalignment with its vision. Conversely, low turnover suggests a strong cultural fit and alignment with organizational goals most of the times. Then, of course, internal communication effectiveness, right? The lifeblood of alignment. Effective internal communication is essential for ensuring that employees understand and are aligned with the organization's vision, purpose, and strategy. And it's increasingly difficult to do this the bigger the organization goes. More communication or poor communication can lead to misunderstandings, disengagement, and resistance to change. How to check? Well, ask 3 of your peers, 3 of your direct reports, and 3 of your managers or 1 of your managers about this year's company strategic imperatives. By the way, do you know them? Then, of course, also general cultural alignment metrics. They ensure the right fit, right? Culturally, alignment refers to how well the company's values, norms, and practices align with its strategic objectives and the personal values of its employees. Measuring cultural alignment, it can be challenging, but tools like cultural surveys and alignment assessments can provide valuable insights. Understanding these metrics, it's still numbers, right? But it's numbers behind the numbers. Understanding these metrics enables leaders to prioritize decisions that foster a supportive culture, ensuring that employees are not just compliant, but genuinely committed to the company's success. It's a journey, right? You will not go into numbers and immediately find out, okay, this is that number and I have that kind of cultural metric and then I have already a decision. So it takes time. But when you come into a new role, it's worth looking at these data in depth and have many conversations with the employees. That's the super critical, important thing as well. You need to talk to the employees. The numbers alone will not tell you the answer. The numbers will give you the ability to ask the right questions. but you need to talk to people. And never fall into the trap that you only look at the business through the lens of the priorities you got from your new boss. Basically, what your new boss wants you to do. That's wrong. And that's not renegating your boss or being uncompliant. That is simply super basics of business assessment. And the third tip I want to call write yourself a story. Yes, you heard me correctly. Literally, take your laptop and write a story. When evaluating a business, it is crucial to combine both the quantitative metrics and the cultural assessments, the metrics and your conversations to gain a holistic understanding of the company's performance, the potential and the urgency for potential change. Numbers alone, such as revenue growth, profit margin, cash flow, we discussed before, provide vital insights into the financial health and operational efficiency of a business. However, without understanding of the cultural context in which these numbers exist, as I said before, leaders miss critical factors that influence these outcomes. I have to admit, I have a bit of a nerdy hobby. I took that on over the course of my career. I didn't start with it because I didn't grasp the fun and the insight. Sometimes on Friday or Saturday nights, I take a glass of good wine and I sit down over P&Ls, balance sheets, financial reports of businesses. You get them easily. They're everywhere on the internet. You can go into investor section of a big company, or you also get them from business brokers in case you're interested to buy a business. And I try to understand what is behind the numbers. And I can tell you, with a little bit of practice, you can almost read the culture of that business out of the numbers. It's really fun, even if you're not that kind of a nerd. Quantitative metrics reveal what is happening within a business, but they do not explain the why. For example, a company might have strong revenue growth, yet face a high employee turnover. This discrepancy could indicate a cultural issue, such as poor management practices or lack of alignment with the company's values, which may not be immediately evident through financial analysis alone. Ignoring these cultural elements can lead to short-term gains, but long-term instability, as unresolved cultures, for all the reasons we discussed in the first couple sections, episodes, unresolved cultural issues will undermine sustained performance. Combining both financial and cultural evaluations allows leaders to identify not only the current state of the business, but also its potential for the future. For instance, a company may be financially stable, but culturally stagnant, signaling that while it is performing well now, it may struggle to adapt to market changes or to innovate itself or to transform itself into the future. Alternatively, a company with a strong culture but weak financials might have untapped potential that, with the right strategic adjustments, could lead to significant growth. So only understanding both together will give you context, and it will help you to prioritize your first decisions and also the urgency around it. If cultural misalignment is causing operational inefficiencies or employee dissatisfaction, it can indicate that the cultural transformation needs your first and foremost attention. On the other hand, if the culture is strong, but the numbers show areas for improvement, you might want to focus on strategic or process-related adjustments while still nurturing the culture. So it's never one thing. So in order to understand all that, again, write yourself a story. I did this many times in my career. Look at the numbers, talk to people, and then start like a diary. You can start, I just started this new leadership endeavor and looked at the P&L today. I see most products are very profitable, but this one isn't. I wonder why. Probably should ask for some operational KPIs. And then you continue when you have them. Or talk to X and Y today and heard the complete opposite of what A and B told me yesterday. Need more conversations on a strategic understanding. Take your time with this and share this with your management regularly. And maybe also with other people you trust. Your direct reports, for instance. Maybe you have, at some point you have to do this with your direct reports, right? But maybe early on you find a few which you trust more already at the beginning. Maybe you have already identified someone, or maybe you brought a lieutenant. What about sharing it with the head of the finance department, the project management lead? Ask for their input. You're in fact-finding mode. It takes time to understand a new business or a new department. Give yourself that time. My biggest not optimized outcomes have never come from generally waiting too long to do things or generally being too quick. It was always due to not having the complete picture, the complete story ready, and then deciding for the wrong thing in the wrong moment. or the wrong thing in the right moment, you get what I mean. Now, this was a quick summary, and it was a bit too short to do it justice, I admit. To be frank, you can almost not overdo this analysis to thoroughly understand what you have inherited or been granted to safeguard or develop or transform or all the above over the time of your tenureship. But I thought I'd cover these points in aggregate today in a summary just to make it tangible and applicable with immediate effect wherever you are in your journey. And then spend full episodes on the most important aspect of this going forward, namely the numbers analysis. I think we'll cover that next time, and the cultural context. Before I close, one last tip. A personal learning factor which I don't want you to go through the hard way. So that's why it's worth sharing it. Don't let yourself get rushed. If you start a new and bigger leadership role with significant financial or personnel related responsibilities, you'll be on the radar from day one. And I had regional leads telling me, even before I started the role, to be quick. Quick on what? I had GMs telling me who to fire before I even started. Fire whom and why? My message is this: resist the urge to act quickly, too quickly. You need to understand the story, your own story you tell yourself first, to a very good and conclusive extent that you know what you're talking about. Resist the pressure to act without the right amount of information. Your story will help. If you share it with others and ask for feedback, you'll know when you're ready. All right, this was episode 8 of The Mammoth in the Room. I hope you enjoyed it, took away something. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and give me some reviews, either on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcast from. I would appreciate if you give me some likes if you like it. And lastly, and I'm mentioning this again and again, we'll keep doing this until the launch. If you're interested in more, there's my book coming out in October. It has the same title as the podcast, The Mammoth in the Room. It's offering a practical roadmap how great leaders and their teams embrace evolutionary truth for outstanding business results. And it does that in 3 sections: on people, on strategy, and on implementation. And if you leave us your email, we can put you on to a non-binding pre-order list. And if you would like to get the book, for the e-version, we charge only $2.99 in the way up to the book launch. Thank you very much. This was Nicholas Bocconi, The Mammoth in the Room.